Hello and welcome to our Meadows, your RC channel for all things RC and sometimes 3D printing. I have a new printer and I want to get on to some videos on that. Today we're going to be talking about the Q100 from Hobbymate. It's another one of my indoor quad flyers, and the previous video was on the Inductrix, and this one here is on the Hobbymate. And this is an indoor flyer as well, and different than the Inductrix from Horizon Hobbies, but equally interesting. As before with the Inductrix, we've now had a season of flying, and so you know, like I mentioned before, unlike some of the other videos, I get a product and review it. I don't know how you review something if you've never flown it. So anyway, this one here was a kit that we've flown now for the whole season, and it required assembly. All the boards came, but you had to solder the motors on. Not a lot of work. You had to assemble putting all the components on, which really wasn't that hard, and it was actually kind of fun to do if you like to do that. So it was an easy assemble. I made a few modifications. I use these dental elastic dental bands, and they're really nice for holding things in place, and especially for these small projects. So all in all, though, I'll have a link to the build video on this. It's really quite basic. There was some confusion on binding. A lot of people were trying to use Spectrum satellite information to bind. It isn't that complicated. There's just a bind switch on there. Set your radio to the proper bind, into bind mode, and you may need to press the bind button. I forget what I did, but I think I had to press the bind button on this one to make it work. But either way, it's either bind in the radio or the bind button. Holding down the button, it'll flash, and she binds nicely. So this is a DSM unit. As you know from my previous videos, indoor flying, I use a DSM. Good build. The reason I like this is kind of, the Inductrix is very soft, very easy to fly indoors. This is a bit more of a challenge. It is NAS 32 base, so it's very similar to all of the outdoor flying that we do when the weather's nice. So I kind of like this because it keeps my learning, I stay on top of my learning for setting up my PIDs and all the other modifications that you can make with these flight controllers. And I'm using Cleanflight, so I'm staying familiar with all of that technology. So this is kind of nice that way for doing that, doing all the setups and staying on top of it. The service on this, the reason I'm mentioning that this came from a company called Hobbymate. There's versions of this available from other places. The reason why I'm mentioning Hobbymate, I have no connection with them. I found that I did get service from them. Not the same quality as Horizon Hobby and the Inductrix, but I still did get service when I had questions about the binding. I don't like to really do a lot of explorations. I figure if I buy a product, I figure the company should know how it works when they ship it out. But they were able to give me all the details I needed to get this product up and flying. So service isn't bad. In fact, we did have some good responses. The price is right. It's $50. It was only, I think, $42 US, which was really an excellent price. It came with everything: the camera, the DSM receiver, the NAS 32 board, or an iteration of the NAS 32 board, as well as the video transmitter. This has been a lot of fun to fly indoors. It gives you really the feeling of what you would do outdoors with a bigger quad racer. The Spectrum compatibility we already talked about. Easy to bind. But if you go into the web, there's a lot of misinformation out there now, and there's a lot of people just guessing, and there's no one editing out what is good and what is not, so you could waste a lot of time. That's why Hobbymate is so good. Send them an email if you have a problem. I'm sure they'll take care of you. This is great for flying in a gym. It is really just like a real flyer. And you can see from the little video here that it's not as stable. Well, it's as stable as the Inductrix, but obviously it has a lot more movement because it is a true quad racer, just using indoor. And I can do some more tuning on that to make it softer. But when I'm flying in a large gym, we now have a larger flying surface. I like having that bit of movement on it because it really simulates outdoor flying. The other advantage of this one here is that it uses a 500, or right now I'm using a 600 milliamp battery, so I get a longer flight time on this than I do with the Inductrix. So I can really, really fly and give it a good test. I get about 5 solid minutes, maybe 6 minutes depending on how I'm flying with it. So definitely a big plus is having a battery. In conclusion, this is really great fun, great for indoor flying, and it stays on top of your quad racing. When you go outdoors, you will have the same feel, and flying with the goggles on, you know, that's a skill that you need to maintain. So definitely I really enjoyed this product, and I hope if you get a chance, buy one. You won't regret it. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you next time with Emerald Meadows, and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much, and have a great day. Bye-bye.